Hey, welcome. I'm Tony P. back again with another shop vac dust collection video. This will be the fifth one in the Rig I Did series here on the channel, where I've been sharing all sorts of different tips and tricks about shop vac dust collection. In this one, I'm going to be going over how and why I like to hang them high, talking about why I like to hang a lot of my shop vacs from the ceiling. I'll be making some of the modifications that I mentioned in the over-the-top dust extraction on the table saw video, which is the one where I explain how I extract the dust that comes off the top of my table saw blade. In that video, I mentioned replacing the section of pipe that is made up of 3 rigid extension wands. I'm going to replace that with some 2-inch PVC pipe, so I'll do that. I'm also going to eliminate the cyclone and box, and I'm going to replace the shelf that's hanging from ropes back there with one of the brackets that's similar to these brackets that I have on these larger vacs. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you a couple of the details on the larger vac setup, and then I'll go ahead and start making the modifications over here. The main advantage of hanging the shop vac is that it's not sitting on the floor. It's not taking up floor space. The only disadvantage is that it's more difficult to get the filter out to clean it, which is completely solved by the bracket, which I'll show you how here in a minute. The other thing is it would be more difficult to get the container down if the container on the vacuum was full of dust. Mine stay completely empty or almost completely empty because I'm running cyclone dust separators. Almost all the dust gets detoured into the container that the cyclone dust separator sits on. So these basically stay empty. The only way that they would fill up is if the container that the cyclone's sitting on fills up, then it would start to fill up that container. And even if that was to happen, the way the bracket works, it's still not that big a deal to pull the container down. The only downside to having the vacuum set up would be if you're using your shop vac for multiple purposes, like cleaning your car or cleaning up a wet mess, then it's just going to be a pain to actually get the whole thing down. Not a deal breaker, but still more trouble than it might be worth. In that case, it'd probably be better just to leave your shop vac on the floor. Here, I'm using them as dedicated dust collectors. Each one of these is hooked up to an individual tool, although you could hook them up to multiple tools with blast gates and stuff. I just have a whole lot of shop vacs. I've actually got a whole bunch that I haven't even taken out of the box yet. So before you leave one of those comments that I could have bought some central vac dust collection setup with all kinds of ducting, maybe pump the brakes because you don't know the whole story. And there is a story involved, and it's pretty hilarious. So before the end of the series, I will explain why I have so many shop vacs and how that whole thing happened. So just consider that before you start giving me advice on what I could have done. Now I'm going to go ahead and start breaking down this setup. Now I'm going to show you how the bracket works. First, I'll show you on the smaller vacuum setup, then I'll show you on the larger one. And I've also got a couple of things I forgot to mention on the larger vacuum setup earlier. I'll show you that stuff as well. This is the older style filter with a little nut. There really isn't much dust in there because I recently cleaned them. And now for this larger vacuum, it's got the new style filter that just pops off. There's not really a whole lot of dust. This filter is fairly clean. I cleaned it not too long ago. This setup involves one of the adapters that I showed you how to make in the first video in the series. Then there's a section of PVC pipe. It's 2-inch PVC pipe. It's about 27 inches long. Then there's a section of short hose. I showed you how to make that in the second video in the series. Then there's a cyclone dust separator. I shared all that I could about that in the third video in the series. Then there's a box that hangs on the wall, and I shared that in the fourth video in the series. And the only thing that I didn't really cover was this little bracket, which basically just tidies it up and holds it in place so that when you disconnect it, it stays here. And this is basically just 2 pieces of plywood with this little hole cut out. And it catches it right here where the coupling is. It's pretty tight fit. So it just kind of snaps in there. That's going to wrap up how and why I like to hang them high. Please do push some buttons. That'll help push this video out to all the dust makers out there in the world. If you haven't seen all the videos in the series, they'll be linked down below. There's also a playlist on my channel. I'll link that down below as well. If you like the shirts that I wear, you can go to shirtpuppy.com and get your shirt on. Until next time,